Morning people, welcome back to F Politics. As Brits, we're known for being especially polite. No emotion, stiff upper lip, royal family types, right? But that's not our only reputation, is it?
You're talking to an English person, you don't know if they've recently died or just got married. Either that, or when emotion does appear, it's violent. They come and play football with you and rip the shit out of the stadium and eat the chairs.
Because we're only known as being especially polite in the circumstances where we've decided that it's appropriate to be polite. Because let's take that football example. My view is that nationalism has no place in politics because politics affects real people's lives, so the stakes are simply too high to act as if some people's lives are more important than other people's simply because of the address of the genitalia that they fell out of. However, for me, when it comes to football, Brexit means Brexit. Because for the most part, anything said in sport is said in jest. Nobody's actually being hurt. So why are politicians routinely saying kind words to the worst people on the planet? A court found that Donald Trump sexually abused E. Jean Carroll, meaning that in just a couple of months, the most powerful person on the planet will be an adjudicated rapist. Legitimizing sexual abuse at the literal highest level on earth is a huge fuck you to women everywhere. So for Keir Starmer to congratulate him on that role sends a message that is heard well beyond the White House. And I'll get on to whether or not he has to be diplomatic in a second, but let's remember, this is Donald Trump.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
What about the guy that gets her pregnant?
Determined.
Is he responsible under the law for these abortions? Or is he not responsible for an abortion decision?
It hasn't, different feelings, different people.
Yeah.
I would say no.
Well, they're usually involved.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab them by the pussy.
So any support he shows for Donald Trump is supporting all of that and legitimizing the kind of politics that goes after the kinds of people that Donald Trump goes after. And I'm not saying he can't have his private diplomatic phone call, touching base, establishing relations and all that, but publicly stroking his ego by calling his victory historic? Seriously? And on the diplomatic side, what exactly do we have to gain from Donald Trump? He's already said that any potential trade deal would involve making our already struggling NHS pay more for drugs. And that would kind of be par for the course, because this special relationship between the UK and the US hasn't always worked in our favor. If you look at when we basically followed George Bush into the Iraq War, do you think that's helped us in terms of our national security? Do you think it made us a lot of friends in the Middle East, killing thousands of innocent people? Or, as many experts believe, did it help create ISIS and put a target on our backs? Do you think that joining America in supporting the atrocities that are currently happening in the Middle East is making us more friends over there as well? Or does the UK cozying up to American leaders who have no regard for the lives or the human rights of people in other countries simply provide lots of ammunition to anybody that wants to argue that the West is simply a bunch of murderous hypocrites who deserve to be taken down? So is it really worth cozying up to a rapist to preserve that special relationship? Or even worse than that, does cozying up to the US president, regardless of what that president's values are, not undermine the special relationship by showing how empty it is? Because what if the president after Trump is a black woman and we've been cozying up with a racist misogynist? How's she gonna feel? Again, we should be polite where it makes sense to be polite. Like, I hated watching Boris Johnson constantly be referred to in Parliament as the honourable member for Uxbridge and South Ruislip. He was not an honourable member. He was just a member. A man who once told the MP who took over from Jo Cox after she was murdered that if she didn't want to get murdered, she needed to support Brexit.
As the woman who has taken over a seat that was left by our dear friend Jo Cox, can I ask him, in all honesty, as a human being, please, will he, going forward, moderate his language so that we will all feel secure when we're going about our jobs?
And the best way to ensure that every parliamentarian is properly safe and we dial down the current anxiety in this country is to get Brexit done.
A man whose lies were so obvious that in 2013 he said we needed to be in the EU single market in order to trade freely with the rest of the EU.
I'd vote to stay in the single market. I'm in favour of the single market. I want us to be able to trade freely with our European friends.
And then in 2016 said,
All those who say that there would be barriers to trade with Europe if we were to do a Brexit. It is totally and utterly absurd.
And yet when Dawn Butler called him a liar, she was thrown out of Parliament.
You know, at the end of the day, the Prime Minister has lied to this House time and time again. And it's funny that we get in trouble in this place for calling out the lie rather than the person lying.
Order. Order. Please reflect on your words and withdraw your remarks.
Deputy Speaker, I've reflected on my words, and somebody needs to tell the truth in this House that the Prime Minister has lied.
Under the power given me by Standing Order number 43, I order the member to withdraw immediately from the House for the remainder of the day's sitting. I call Tom Randall.
Only for it to then be proven in the Parliament's committee that he was in fact a liar. But our rules of civility and politeness means politicians don't call other politicians what they actually are. And if they even retweet somebody who does tell the truth, they get in trouble for it. Like when Nels Abbey, the journalist and author, tweeted about Kemi Badenoch being essentially white supremacy in blackface, and Dawn Butler retweeted it, again, she's the one being threatened with punishment. Even though the United Nations has said that the Conservative Party seeks to normalise white supremacy, and Kemi Badenoch literally said she plans to use her skin colour to prove that the Conservative Party isn't racist.
All my supporters were white, and there they were championing this 28-year-old black woman, and people were shouting racists at them. And they were all Labour Party members who just thought that that's just what you say to Conservatives. If my standing up as a senior member of the Conservative Party helps to destroy that myth, then I will continue to do so.
And yet, simply retweeting something that Kemi Badenoch has effectively admitted to was deemed to be unpolite, unparliamentary behaviour. Like, how many times is Dawn Butler going to get scolded for being right? And meanwhile, you have Keir Starmer congratulating and celebrating Kemi Badenoch becoming the leader of the Conservative Party, as if that's a great moment for black people in the UK to have somebody who denies the existence of systemic racism as the leader of a major party. And this is what politeness and respectability politics gets you, because none of them will call Nigel Farage a racist. They were too scared to call Boris Johnson a liar. They're not going to call Donald Trump a misogynist. And as with any problem, if you deny that it exists, you prevent it being solved. We are being suffocated by our own politeness. And the irony of it is, we've watched politicians rise to huge heights like Boris Johnson, like Donald Trump, because of this idea of telling it like it is. And you think you're doing better in that environment by refusing to tell it like it is? Like, Kemi Badenoch supported Boris Johnson while he was literally using death threats to intimidate MPs, and yet she's now able to weaponize respectability politics to get Labour running scared about the stuff they used to say about Donald Trump.
Did the Foreign Secretary take that opportunity to apologise for making derogatory and scatological references, including, and I quote, "Trump is not only a woman-hating, neo-Nazi sympathising sociopath, he is also a profound threat to the international order."
So this concept of politeness in politics only seems to work one way, and it just weakens the left, or at least the supposed left. I'm Kemi. Make sure you follow F Politics so politics doesn't F you. Have a great week.